Iran has long stood at the crossroads of civilizations, positioned between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, a geography that has historically given it immense strategic value. Its location not only made it a hub for trade and culture but also placed it at the center of global politics. Beyond geography, Iran is blessed with abundant natural resources, holding some of the world's largest reserves of oil and natural gas, assets that should have fueled unmatched economic prosperity. Adding to this potential is Iran's rich heritage, the legacy of the Persian Empire that once commanded vast territories and left a lasting mark on science, philosophy, and art. With such a combination of history, resources, and location, many expected Iran to rise as a modern superpower. Yet despite these advantages, the nation's path has been marked by turbulence, raising the pressing question: what derailed Iran's expected destiny? The story of Iran's potential cannot be told without looking back at the foundations laid by its ancient empires. The Achaemenid Empire, established in the 6th century BCE, was one of the largest and most sophisticated civilizations of its time, stretching from Greece to India and introducing administrative systems that influenced future states for centuries. Later, the Sassanid and Safavid dynasties cemented Iran's place as a center of philosophy, science, art, and culture, where poets, architects, and scholars thrived. This long and illustrious past created a deep sense of pride and identity among Iranians, reminding them of a time when Persia was among the world's most powerful civilizations. However, the decline of these empires brought waves of invasions and foreign domination, from Mongols and Arabs to Ottoman, Russian, and British interventions. This dual legacy, of greatness and exploitation, shaped Iran's national psyche. On the one hand, Iranians cherished their glorious history and sought to reclaim it. On the other, the constant struggle against foreign interference bred suspicion and resentment. By the 20th century, this complex mix of pride and vulnerability would profoundly influence Iran's politics, economy, and ambitions, forming the backdrop for both its aspirations of power and the obstacles it would face. The discovery of oil in the early 20th century seemed to promise Iran a pathway to unimaginable wealth and influence. In 1908, the Anglo-Persian Oil Company struck oil in southwestern Iran, marking the beginning of a new era. What should have been a transformative blessing, however, quickly became complicated by foreign control and exploitation. The British secured dominant rights over Iranian oil, ensuring that much of the revenue flowed abroad while Iran itself received only a fraction of the profits. Over time, Iran's reliance on oil revenue deepened, creating what many economists call the resource curse. Instead of encouraging broad-based industrialization and innovation, the easy wealth from oil fueled corruption, inequality, and a rentier economy where the state depended on oil income rather than taxation. Oil revenues did fund some modernization projects and gave Iran leverage in global markets, but they also drew the attention of foreign powers eager to maintain influence over this critical resource. As a result, oil became both Iran's greatest asset and its greatest vulnerability. While it gave Iran the potential to build superpower status, it also entrenched external meddling and internal mismanagement, planting the seeds of political upheaval and economic instability in the decades that followed. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi came to power during a turbulent period after World War II, determined to transform Iran into a modern state and a regional powerhouse. With strong backing from the United States and other Western allies, the Shah embarked on an ambitious program of modernization and westernization. His White Revolution in the 1960s introduced sweeping reforms: land redistribution, expanded education, women's suffrage, and investments in infrastructure. Iran's military was also heavily strengthened, becoming one of the most powerful in the Middle East, supplied with advanced American weaponry. On the surface, these changes seemed to place Iran firmly on the path toward becoming a global player. Skyscrapers rose in Tehran, industries flourished, and oil revenues poured into development projects. Yet beneath the glittering facade, significant cracks appeared. Economic inequality persisted, with wealth concentrated in the hands of elites close to the monarchy. Political repression silenced dissent, as the Shah's secret police, SAVAK, crushed opposition voices. Traditional and religious segments of society felt alienated by rapid westernization, creating growing resentment. While Iran appeared to outsiders as a rising superpower in the 1970s, internally it was a nation divided, its modern ambitions clashing with its cultural and social fabric, a tension that would soon erupt. By the late 1970s, the glitter of Iran's rapid modernization could no longer hide the discontent simmering beneath the surface. The Shah's aggressive westernization, coupled with political repression and widespread inequality, alienated vast sections of Iranian society. Religious leaders, students, workers, and intellectuals all found common ground in their opposition to the monarchy. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, who had been exiled for his criticism of the Shah, became the symbolic leader of this growing movement. Protests swelled across the country, and despite the Shah's military might, his regime crumbled under the weight of mass demonstrations and strikes. In 1979, the Islamic Revolution swept away the monarchy, replacing it with the Islamic Republic under Khomeini's leadership. This marked a dramatic turning point in Iran's trajectory. Where the Shah had sought to align Iran with the West and build its power on modernization, the revolution established a theocratic system rooted in Islamic governance and hostility toward Western influence. The revolutionary zeal gave Iran new identity and purpose, but it also brought international isolation. Hopes of superpower status gave way to ideological battles, as Iran shifted from being a Western-backed rising power to a revolutionary state, often at odds with much of the world. Only a year after the revolution, Iran was thrust into one of the most devastating conflicts of the 20th century. In 1980, Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein, seeing Iran weakened by political upheaval, launched a full-scale invasion. What began as a land grab quickly escalated into an 8-year war of attrition that would drain both nations. For Iran, the war became a defining struggle for survival. Cities were bombed, oil infrastructure was destroyed, and entire regions turned into battlefields. The human cost was staggering, with estimates of over 1 million dead and countless more injured or displaced. Economically, billions of dollars were lost, halting whatever progress Iran had hoped to achieve after the revolution. Instead of building its industries and expanding influence, Iran was forced to channel resources into the war effort. The conflict also entrenched authoritarianism, as the regime used wartime urgency to tighten its grip on society and silence opposition. Although Iran eventually repelled Iraqi forces and claimed moral victory, the price was catastrophic. In the aftermath of the revolution and the hostage crisis of 1979, Iran faced a barrage of U.S. sanctions that marked the beginning of decades of economic isolation. These restrictions were initially designed to punish Tehran for its anti-American stance but later expanded to include accusations of sponsoring terrorism and developing nuclear capabilities. Over time, sanctions tightened, cutting Iran off from global banking systems, limiting trade, and preventing access to advanced technology. The impact was profound. Industries struggled, inflation soared, and foreign investment all but vanished. Meanwhile, countries like South Korea, Turkey, and even smaller Gulf states advanced rapidly by integrating into the global economy, highlighting Iran's lost opportunities. Instead of leveraging its oil wealth to build a diversified economy, Iran remained stuck in a cycle of dependency and stagnation. What could have been a springboard to power became a chain that dragged the nation further from its superpower potential. Inside Iran, political and social struggles have been as damaging as external pressures. The Islamic Republic's unique system places ultimate power in the hands of the supreme leader and clerical institutions, while elected officials operate within tightly controlled limits. This constant tug-of-war between theocratic authority and democratic aspirations has produced inconsistent policies and deep frustration among citizens. Corruption and cronyism are widespread, with wealth and opportunities concentrated in the hands of elites tied to the regime. Meanwhile, many of Iran's brightest minds have left the country, contributing to a brain drain that deprives the nation of innovation and talent. Social tensions also simmer, from restrictions on women's rights to the suppression of ethnic and religious minorities. Protests erupt regularly, reflecting a society that feels stifled and unheard. Instead of unity and progress, internal divisions weaken Iran from within, further preventing it from realizing its long-promised rise to greatness. Iran's pursuit of nuclear technology has long symbolized its desire for global power and independence. Initially presented as a peaceful energy program, it quickly raised international concerns about potential weaponization. For Iran, nuclear capability represented prestige and a deterrent against regional rivals and foreign intervention. Yet the cost of this ambition proved immense. Western powers responded with some of the harshest sanctions in modern history, further crippling Iran's economy and isolating it diplomatically. The 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, briefly offered hope, lifting sanctions in exchange for limits on Iran's nuclear activities, and for a moment it seemed reintegration into the world economy was possible. However, the U.S. withdrawal from the deal in 2018 reignited tensions, leaving Iran once again cut off. What was meant to showcase strength became a double-edged sword, draining resources and fueling mistrust, ultimately undermining the very superpower status Iran had sought. Compared to its regional neighbors, Iran's potential has often gone unrealized. Saudi Arabia leveraged oil wealth to build global alliances and diversify its economy through Vision 2030. Turkey combined its industrial base with NATO membership to expand influence and trade. Smaller Gulf states like the UAE and Qatar transformed themselves into global hubs despite limited size. Iran, with far greater resources and population, missed similar opportunities due to internal mismanagement, political repression, and international isolation. While its neighbors grew economically and diplomatically, Iran remained constrained, illustrating how its immense potential was undermined by a combination of policy failures and external pressures. Despite its setbacks, Iran remains a significant regional power with influence stretching across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. Its cultural contributions, literature, cinema, and a global diaspora, continue to project soft power worldwide. However, the country faces persistent challenges: a struggling economy, widespread protests, and an authoritarian political system that limits reform. While Iran maintains military strength and regional sway, it no longer possesses the global trajectory that once promised superpower status. Today, it stands as a nation of contrasts, immense potential tempered by enduring limitations, a reminder of what might have been if historical, political, and economic hurdles had been navigated differently. Looking back, Iran's journey from a land of immense promise to its current state reveals a complex mix of ambition, mismanagement, and circumstance. Factors such as the oil dependency, the 1979 revolution, the Iran-Iraq War, crippling sanctions, internal corruption, and missed economic opportunities all played a role in diverting the nation from superpower status. Yet Iran's story is not one of complete failure. Its cultural influence, regional presence, and resilient population remain powerful assets. Whether it can reclaim a path toward greatness depends on reform, engagement with the world, and strategic vision. For now, Iran stands as a nation of unrealized potential, a reminder that promise alone is never enough.